Welcome to the Friendly Moms Club podcast with Jen and Carly. We're the new mom friends you didn't know you needed.
We are creating a safe space to bring moms together, lighten the heaviness, and find joy in the everyday moments. Together, we will share our own experiences of being new moms while navigating the topics we wish more people talked about.
Join us every Monday to hear us skip the small talk and dive right into the uncomfortable. Happy Mom Day!
Happy Mom Day, Carly.
What a beautiful day.
I know.
It actually is a beautiful day. And as you can see, opposed to last, I think it was 2 episodes ago, we were very somber in our all black. Today, look at us. We're festive. We're going
I showed
on a
up and
safari.
we were like, yeah, we're feeling it today.
I actually think leopard, or is this cheetah? Leopard? I think it's leopard.
Same.
Leopard, they're very different.
Okay,
I
but
Googled it the other day.
in my head, it's the same.
Okay.
It's okay.
Leopard and pink is like the most ultimate combination in my mind. Some people aren't into the animal print, but I am.
I'm glad I didn't wear my animal print shirt. Otherwise, it would have been a lot this one.
Oh my gosh. Should we do that? A little animal print episode? Maybe
it
some
would be
whiskers and a
lot.
little nose. So if you're listening on podcast, Jen's wearing pink and I'm wearing a leopard shirt. And you know what? I think we look good.
It's looking
It's
pretty
a
good
vibe.
today.
We got all the greens.
Yeah.
Good colors.
Yeah.
It's a good aesthetic. Anyways,
We're feeling all happy as we're going to talk about relationships today. Relationships
they're so fun.
postpartum. Yeah, because it's just easy, right? It just magically is fine after
they're
you have a
just
baby.
so easy. We had no issues. Everything. We've never been stronger.
Yeah. Which is like the biggest lie we
Yeah.
could tell.
Yes, exactly. Giant lie.
It's
hard.
hard.
It is. It challenges you in ways that
Maybe your relationship's never been challenged this way before.
For sure. And everyone says, oh, it's so hard. It's so hard. But man, it is hard. We actually were just away on a family trip a couple weekends ago with my husband's side of the family. And my sister-in-law was like, guys, you're almost at the 1 year mark. She was like, that was the hardest. And like, it's so much easier. Like for them, it was so much easier after a year. And we just kept looking at each other every time we pissed each other off or like one of us got snarky. We were like 3 months, 3 months. Like we're going to do it.
We're getting there.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
And you know, I can say the last maybe month-ish, we have definitely turned a corner in hating each other less. And I don't know if it does coincide with Henry sleeping much better.
Yeah.
So maybe that
If everyone's
has something
getting
to do with
sleep,
it.
everyone's happier.
Yeah. He's
Really.
happier. We're happier. I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard. But the important thing is that you just need to communicate.
Yeah.
Everything is much better after that.
You definitely need to talk about it.
Yes. And then it's normal. Like I think almost everyone goes through this. So if you're experiencing this right now, know that it's very normal for your
So
relationship
normal.
to just be a little rocky for a little while after.
And not just rocky, like it gets pushed to the side too. Like
Yes.
it gets like a little rocky and you get angry. And then also you just like sweep it under the rug and push it aside and decide like you're in survival mode.
Yes.
So it is the last thing on your priority list is your relationship. But what we've learned, because this is not really what we did for the first couple months, is that it needs to be.
Yes.
Because otherwise you just hate each other.
Yeah.
And
I just felt like we were roommates. Like
yeah.
It
But like
just-
angry roommates,
yeah.
passive aggressive roommates, leaving sticky notes.
that no one was getting sleep and everyone was just on edge. And it was just, it was not,
Nobody
it was
was
not
doing the
healthy
dishes
at all. So
yeah, it was hard.
yeah.
And like Jen said, it's so normal. There's a book called, I have to make sure I get it right, How to Not Hate Your Husband After Kids. We'll link it below. We have no affiliation with this book, but
We've never even read it, but we think the title is
it's hilarious. So like there's a reason this book exists because
clearly women experience this.
Yeah.
Well, and men. It's partners.
Exactly.
Everyone experiences
yeah,
this.
no matter what your relationship. And it's so easy to build resentment. And something that we'll talk about is you always think like you're getting the crappy end of the stick, that like you're getting less sleep, you're doing more, you're always picking up the slack. But then when you actually sit down and communicate and talk with your partner, you realize, wait, we're actually both doing so much. And you think like, I always wash the bottles. And then they're like, well, I'm always changing the diapers. And you don't realize how much they're doing until you actually sit down and talk about it. Or even if one of you goes back to work and one stays home, you think like, hey, I'm staying home with the baby. This sucks. And they're like, well, I have to go to work. This sucks. And it's like, well, really, it's all hard.
Yes.
But everybody thinks often that their situation is harder or yeah.
Or they don't like it, or they wish they were doing the other one. And then that
Exactly.
just builds that resentment more.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
we're going to talk about our own, I can't speak,
Experiences.
our own experiences, just individually kind of like what happened or what we noticed in our relationships. And then we're going to go through just some ideas of what's worked for us to help kind of build our relationship back up. So
let's do it. So
I guess
Jen, you
I'll
start us off. You tell us what happened.
So yeah, I think in the beginning, I just felt like we were roommates and we both didn't notice how much it affected us because all we talked about was the baby. Like right before the baby was here, then after the baby's born, all we talked about was baby. Baby things, baby poop, baby feeding, baby. That was all we talked about. We just never talked about us. We never really asked how the other person was doing. It was all, how's baby? What's baby doing? Baby's asleep. You know, that's all we talked about. So we found that to kind of be the first thing that was our detriment is we just stopped talking to each other about anything else. Yeah. And yes, when you have a baby, the baby becomes your world. Like I get that sentiment. I get that whole idea. But in order to be like the best parent for your baby, you also need to be happy and be in a good relationship and have support and to be able to communicate with your partner. Otherwise, you're just miserable and trying to take care of a baby. And then when they cry, you're not in a good place to deal with it. And like it just really
and everyone's
spirals from there. So it is very important. Just in the beginning, it's hard to notice that because you're just drowning and you're just in like the trenches. So it's just hard to notice your relationship in the beginning. And yeah, we'll get into it more, but that was kind of the first initial thing we noticed. And yeah, we were just really trying to stay afloat, like just keep going and keep everything functioning in the house. And as I said, we just felt like roommates because we were taking turns. Because we were doing the triple feeding, like one of us was doing something, the other was doing something else. So we were never actually like in the same room together. We were like handing off babies so other people could nap. So then we weren't talking, but then we weren't even seeing each other because we were just like taking turns trying to fit in all the things. And one was washing bottles while the other was holding baby and then vice versa. So we just kind of got further and further apart. And I mean, I was so lucky that my partner is super helpful. Like he was washing bottles. He was helping me with the feeding. He was bottle feeding. He was getting up in the nights. Like it wasn't even that he was a bad partner. He was a really good partner and it was still really hard on us. So, and he was off of work. And some partners aren't off work. And then that adds another layer to things. So I was very fortunate with him being home and him being very helpful. But even that was really difficult. So after that, then I started to get angry with him because he couldn't breastfeed. And I was having issues breastfeeding.
But did he even try? Did he even put in the effort?
But it's so silly because you know he can't do anything, but you just sit there and it's not working. And I'm like squeezing my boob trying to get any drops out. And I'm just, my hand is cramping. And I'm like, this just isn't fair. Like, I want him to do this. Like he needs to do something. And it's not fair for me to think that way. It's just when you're in it, these things come up. And I didn't say I hadn't said anything to him at this point because, you know, he's still trying to survive. I hadn't gotten mad and actually verbalized any of the stuff. It was just building up in my head, which is another issue. Yeah. So yeah, there was all that. I was getting resentment for the stuff that he couldn't do to help me. And he was doing all this other, like it rationally doesn't make sense, but this is just how I felt. But we were both going to therapy, which was super helpful. And we actually decided to start couples therapy. I had said in one of my sessions to my therapist that I felt like we were more like roommates than actually in a relationship as a couple right now. And she's like, well, maybe that's something to think about. And so after my appointment, I talked to Nanad and I was like, maybe it'd be good. It would force us to have to like recommunicate about our relationship again. And since then, we started couples counseling, and it was just something that actually forced us to communicate again and start talking about us. And it really helped us turn a corner. And now we're just much better. We can communicate our needs. If he wants to go out, like he'll ask me to do things before I go out. I'll ask him to do things before he goes out so that if we're leaving the other person, we're kind of leaving on a good note that like we make sure they're all good, that, you know, there's nothing else we can do before we head out. And it's just really helped that we can express our wants and needs and what we need. And sometimes I ask him to just sit with me on the couch. I'm like, instead of playing video games tonight, can you just sit with me for 5 minutes? Like, I don't even want to talk. I just need you to I just need us to be together here for 5 minutes. Just us with no baby, no nothing. And sometimes it's not even talking. We just literally sit there. And that's just what my body needs, what my mind needs. It's just that actually connection. Being together. Yeah. And my therapist had said that too. Sometimes when you're just not in a place to actually be there for your spouse, the best thing you can do, like if you're really triggered and you're not doing well, and she's like, it's just physical touch. She's like, even just rubbing someone's back will really help soothe them if they're not doing well. Because I was like, some days I'm not doing well. So I'm not able to help him if he's not doing well because I'm not doing well. So how the heck do I support him when I'm just barely holding it together and I'm trying to figure out everything for baby? She's like, sometimes it might just be like sitting beside him and just rubbing his back. And then that just lets him know that you're there. It's like a silent communication of support. And so, yeah, we've started kind of implementing that in our relationship. And that's when we found we really turned a corner. So we just went from not talking to just being like roommates, and just, we didn't really ever have any big blow ups, but it was just not normal. Like, it was just not good and it wasn't healthy. And then we finally ended up putting some work in, and then we found it turned a corner. So that was kind of our experience.
That's good.
Okay, Carly, what was your experience like?
First off, I just want to say that we don't want this to be an episode of like just digging our partners. They're both fantastic. They're both very hands-on. We're very lucky. My husband's very supportive, and I'm very grateful for everything he does. But we do have a very like modern relationship. We never kind of stuck to the traditional gender roles. We both cooked, we both cleaned, we both worked full time before having a baby. But once I became pregnant, everything kind of slipped into traditional gender roles because biology, like I was the one carrying the baby, and like he can't. So everything in our relationship, the dynamics completely shifted. And as being a couple that never really subscribed to traditional gender roles, it was a really big shift for us. And we really had to like reevaluate our relationship, because there was all of a sudden all of these changes in the dynamics, and it was a lot. And then I found immediately postpartum, I had a lot of resentment for things that weren't in his control. And a lot of these things that were my job, like biologically, like breastfeeding. I was so angry at him that he couldn't breastfeed. And he by no means pressured me to breastfeed at all. But I wanted to. And because I wanted to and he couldn't, and it was very hard for the first few months, I was so mad. And I remember one night I sat him down. I had like a list of things that I was annoyed and angry about. And I started the conversation by being like, okay, I need to sit you down. I need to have a serious conversation. I need to tell you some things that like I'm mad about. But I also need to tell you that like none of this is within your control. And like none of this is anything that you are actually doing. It's just things that like I'm mad about. And I was like, I'm mad that I was pregnant and that I went through delivery. And like, I'm mad that you can't breastfeed. And he was just sat there and was like, okay. And like listened. But I was like, these things are annoying me, and it's annoying me that they're annoying me. So I just need to tell you so that you know. And he was very, very supportive of that conversation. But I was just overall like annoyed that he wasn't experiencing postpartum the same way I was. Like he also wasn't peeing himself when he coughed. He wasn't putting ice packs on his vagina. Like these are things that I was like what, like, why do I have to be the one to do this? But like biology, like I said, like he probably would if he could, but he couldn't. And it bothered me, made me mad. So talking about that really helped. I remember I told you guys after, like, okay, I told Jeff all these things that I'm mad about that are completely out of his control, but I feel so much better. Like I felt so light and airy after. It was great. But aside from that, in the early postpartum days, we absolutely did not make our relationship a priority, and we really let resentment grow. And resentment over things that like actually were in our control. Like we both kind of felt like we were doing more. Like I felt like I was doing more because I was staying home with him. He felt like he was doing more because he was working, and he was still doing a lot of the cooking and the cleaning. I mean, in looking back, we were both doing so much. It was what was happening in our relationship at that time. We started becoming like so snippy and short with each other. And every single thing the other person did was like the most annoying thing in the entire world. Like we were getting mad at like the way you butter your toast or the way you take off your socks, like literally just the silliest things. But we had so much resentment because we weren't communicating. We weren't working as a team. We weren't being partners. We were being angry, passive aggressive roommates. And we let that go on for a while. Until we started arguing a lot, especially over like little petty matters, like I said, like things that aren't important. So eventually it blew up a few times. We had some like very serious conversations about our relationship, and both saying like, we're not happy the direction this is going. Like, this isn't us. This isn't why we got married, why we chose to have a family. Like, this isn't the relationship we want to be in. And those few blow-ups, I think there was like 2 or 3, they like really forced us to sit down and communicate our needs and like strategize some plans for going forward. And yeah, we've definitely turned a corner, which is good because otherwise this would be his bedroom. Yeah.
We're on his bed right now, actually.
So on that note, we are actually going to move to ways that we can actually nurture our relationship and work on things with our partners.
Yeah. It makes a big difference when you're actually working as a team and when you like each other. It makes a big difference.
Oh my goodness.
Like when you actually care about the other person again and you have that like, you're happy to see them when they come home and you're not just like throwing them the baby and yelling at them to wash dishes. Like it's a game changer. So this is important. It is worth putting the effort in. And the first thing seems so simple, but it's just communication. Actually saying what's bothering you. Like even though he couldn't do anything, for you to get that off your chest helped. Like that's a good step, right? Yep. So the first few months, all you're talking about is baby. Like baby is everything, but it's good to just at the end of the day being like check in, see how the other person is doing. Start asking simple questions about the other person and expressing, you know, it would really be helpful if you could do X, Y, and Z, or asking the other person like, is it okay if you do this? Because I'm really not feeling today. Like I'm done with today. I'm emotional. Like, can you do bath time? Or, you know, you have to actually talk and communicate those things. And it's the best first step is just simple communication.
Definitely. And even,
I say simple, but it's not a simple. It's not an easy thing, but it's
like over communicating, like saying things that like you don't think they need to hear, but it does really help. Like even just saying, one for me is like, I'm feeling really overstimulated right now. Like we need to turn off some noises that are going on. Mm-hmm. I'm really overstimulated. Like I just need us to like be quiet while we cook dinner, like something like that, where before I would not say something, be really overstimulated, and then he would like stir the pasta wrong and I'd be like, what are you doing to the pasta?
Like chopping onions aggressively. You're just pissed off. And
yeah, definitely there was a lot of passive aggressive chopping going on.
And an example, I actually, as soon as I came here today, I was telling Carly that this happened, and it's a good example, so I'll share it. Is my husband's been getting up with Jordan in the middle of the night. If she wakes up, he's been doing a lot because my pregnancy has not been going well and I've been very sick. So I know that he woke up a lot last night. I heard a lot of crying. And so this morning I was going to come out to Carly. So I just was like, okay, well, I'm going to go, like I'm going to leave in half an hour. And he's like, can I ask you a favor? I was like, oh, okay. Like I thought maybe he was going to ask me not to go today because he didn't sleep well. But all he wanted, he's like, can you just wash a few bottles, please? Like, there's none left, and I'm just really tired. Jordan's going to go down for a nap. I'd like to nap when she naps. Like, do you think you could just wash, like, even one bottle before you go? And I was like, of course. Like, it literally took me 5 minutes. But then at least we both left being happy. Because I'm sure if I just left the house and we didn't have that conversation, he'd kind of resent, like, I was up all night. You're going out. You're doing these things. You don't have the baby. Like, and I don't know that he'd be mad, but it would just... He did that. So he feels better because he expressed his wants and needs. It was something I could easily do and meet in 5 minutes before I left the house. And it was just, it's those simple things that keeps them from building up and having all those arguments and the big blow ups that can happen. And it's so normal, but just trying to start like expressing those mini wants and needs will make a big difference.
A huge difference for sure.
And this next one you and Jeff did.
This is something we've started recently, is actually listening to podcasts about marriage. So you can, as like an activity together, you can listen to a podcast while you're driving. You could read books or like blog posts, like just something to like prioritize and work on your relationship together. But it's a small thing. So we were doing it when we were driving to my parents. It's about half an hour away. And I was like, let's just put on a podcast about marriage. And we were listening to it. And then it sparks conversation and it kind of gets the ball rolling to talk about things. And then you also like hear them talk about like issues in relationships, and you're like, we do that.
We're not the only ones.
We're not the only ones. Yeah. And also like, oh, like that's why I'm annoyed by that, or that's why this happens. And it really did help us open the doors to communication. And then it also just made us feel more connected. And
you're sharing an activity together that's not the baby.
Definitely. Right. Yeah. It was completely about us. The baby was sleeping in the back.
Selfish.
Yeah, I know. We're such selfish parents. We weren't
playing. Half an hour in a car to listen about marriage. Like,
how rude. Yeah. No, it was good. Definitely recommend that one. And then if you do have the time or the resources, another thing you can do, Jen, you can talk about this.
Yeah, I had mentioned it earlier, which did help my husband and I. We did couples counseling, and I've been in therapy for 5 years now. And I had never really thought about couples counseling because my husband basically initially started therapy to learn how to best support me because I was really struggling. But then he was like, oh, this is actually pretty good. I like this therapy thing. So he continued with it. I've been doing it. And yeah, like I said, it wasn't until my therapist kind of was like, maybe that would be a good idea if you're feeling like roommates. I had a huge fear about us getting divorced. And basically, you hear about it all the time.
Like before or when you had a baby?
Sorry, after the baby. I had a huge fear of us getting divorced because I was like, you just see it. You hear about it all the time. Social media, people have kids, and then boom, their marriage just disintegrates and they get a divorce. And I was like, we're great. Like, I don't want it to get to that, but obviously people get to that
It
when
does
they're
get to
great.
that,
So like,
yeah.
how do I not let us get there? And it was stressing me out, and I was just silently stressing about it at home. And so doing actually like sitting down for an hour, even I think we do it about once a month. We've done it a couple times now. So it's not like it's super often, and we're fortunate that our benefits cover it. So we're not paying out of pocket, but it forces us to actually talk about the good, the bad. She gets us to like turn and tell each other like things that we love about the other person,
Oh,
or
that's sweet.
why we got married. Why did you marry each other? So you're kind of like reaffirming all of the good stuff in your relationship again, and your partner gets to hear it. And it's just, I don't know, it's good. So
Yeah.
it's just an idea, something that if you have the resources, the time, if your husband is supportive or partner, because not everyone is, it's not up everyone's alley, but we found it really beneficial. And it just kind of, when weeks are hard, we're like, oh yeah, we have therapy tomorrow. Like, oh, okay.
good.
So like we actually get an hour tomorrow where we're actually encouraged to talk
yourself.
about ourselves. And sometimes you need that like prompt, because otherwise weeks go by and you're like, oh yeah, we haven't actually talked about anything like
Definitely.
important. So it was good.
That was so cute and lovey-dovey. It made my nipples tingle. You know, if you get that little letdown feeling, usually when like a baby cries, but that story got that oxytocin going.
There we go.
Getting all
Glad your
nipple
nips
tingly.
could be happy.
It was lovely. Okay. So the next one, date nights.
Date nights, yes.
So hard to do with a baby. We actually haven't even had like an official date night yet. We've done things with, we went to a wedding and we went out.
That's the only one I can think of.
Yeah, and my birthday too. We went out.
Oh, yeah.
But it also wasn't like just us. But one thing we are trying to do more of is like date nights when the baby's sleeping. So he goes to bed early, 7:30. That gives us hours in the evening where we can sit and actually do something together. We can sit in the yard with a glass of wine. We can, whatever, nap time. He naps in the afternoon. Like we can actually start doing things on our own. What we like to do for little mini dates is actually go for family walks, usually when Henry's sleeping. And that is a time that like forces us to talk to each other. It's really hard to scroll your phone when you're walking. I mean, you can do it, but
With a stroller though too, it's a little sketchy.
It's hard. But yeah, definitely date nights. And like obviously the preferred is like somebody comes and watch the baby. You guys like go out for dinner, go for a walk, go bowling. That it's been on our to-do list for a very long time. I think I said my goal in January was to go out for a date night. So
Like, what
July.
month is it? Oh yeah, it's been a while.
It's July. So I'm going to say that's going to be our goal for August. And you guys can hold me to it. That we're going to go out for a date without the baby for like a couple of hours, just the two of us. And we're going to do something fun.
Yeah. But like Carly said, sometimes it's just not possible. If you don't have family that lives nearby, it's hard to find a babysitter for a baby that little, one that you trust with your baby. So finding those other options to kind of make date nights at home or once the baby's asleep, or we've done this where we give the monitor to my parents. So they don't have to even do anything. We're just like, just watch the monitor. Like if she wakes up, call and we'll just come back home. And so we go to Walmart for an hour and go shopping, but we actually get to talk and not like we don't have the baby to worry about. So it's just actually us. And even that's
great.
been
Love a
fun.
good
Like it's not
shopping
a date, but it's just fun to do something. The two of us, we've done that and we've just literally gone for ice cream. So we've been gone, 45 minutes, but we just went, the two of us, we had ice cream together. It was something we could do. And no one had to really do anything other than watch the monitor. So there's other little things that you can try to do that aren't maybe official date nights, but
you actually have to make
yes,
do it, because you have to be like, hey, we're not going to do any house stuff. We're not going to do bottles or dishes or meal prep or cleaning. We're actually going to spend this hour while they're napping to sit outside and hold hands. I don't know.
And the next one here is something that Carly suggested that her and Jeff did. So why don't you talk about that?
Dinner without cell phones. We're not very good at this, but when we're really not doing well, it's something that we do try to do. And, for the most part, we don't have our phones with us because Henry sits with us at dinner. But yeah, a whole meal without a cell phone where you actually have to sit and talk to each other.
What a crazy concept.
Wow.
Yeah.
The world is crazy in 2023. But yeah, ask each other about your days. You can do the whole rose and thorn or peak and pit, what was the best and the worst part of your day. And yeah.
I've never heard of any of those sayings
really?
before, so that's new to me. I like it, but I've just never heard that.
Yeah.
Cool.
And yeah, it's good. We like it.
I like that idea.
Actually sit there and talk. And it's really hard for me sometimes to not sit there and be having like a mental like role of like what's going to be going on next. Like
the to-do list, the ever going
and going and going.
List.
And like I'm looking around the house. I'm like, okay, well that blanket needs to be folded, and like we need to do these dishes, and we need to cook that chicken, and we got to put this there, and I have to call this person. So it does help me to actually a to-do list, write all this down, put the phone away, and then actually sit and be present.
Yeah.
And it'll make your little heart good. Maybe it'll make your little nipples tingle. Yeah.
Like Carly.
It's cute.
And the last one is something that, Nat and I started, my partner and I started doing. We don't always get to it. And like, right now life is not good with my pregnancy, and we're not even sleeping in the same bedroom right now.
But maybe that's even more.
Not because of relationship issues, but we don't have, this is something we used to do as soon as like we both got into bed at night. We would do a nightly gratitude practice. So we would say something that we were grateful for, thankful for the day, something we were proud that we did today. And we would challenge the other person to do it as well. So you have to kind of be like introspective and be like, because some days of parenting, you're going to feel like we're just a total disaster. But there's always something that you did good or something that actually went well. And if you can end the day and talk about it with your partner, it brings you closer together. There's some sort of closeness that you feel when you do this. And sometimes we'll challenge the other person. We'll say like, okay, like we're going to say something good that you did today. And we'd say it for each other. And then that's another way to kind of, bring you closer together and talk about each other. So it's something that we like to do. And we've done it at the dinner table before or when we get into bed at night. So there's different times. If you just try to pick the same time every day, I don't know. I really like doing it because everyone needs to do more self-positive talk. Like everyone could benefit from that.
Definitely. And there's always something you can be grateful for.
Always something. I mean, this is something that we do as like with mom friends. Sometimes we'll do mom wins of the day.
Definitely.
But to keep your relationship, to be close and to, keep your relationship going, it's kind of nice to be able to do it together and to be proud of your spouse or for something they did. And like, sometimes it's the funniest thing that Annette will be like, I'm proud of you for doing this. So I'm like, that was the stupidest thing. He's like, I know, but you did it. And that was awesome. And just makes you feel all warm and fuzzy. It makes you love your husband again. And it just,
makes you not hate your husband.
Yeah. How not to hate your husband after having a baby. It's a book.
Definitely. It's a book. Yeah. If you've read it, let us know. Maybe we need to read it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Maybe we should have read it earlier. See,
maybe we wouldn't have been in this this place.
But then we wouldn't have all this great content for this episode. So in conclusion, so we shared our own experiences, and now like the theme is like you just need to make your relationship a priority.
Yes.
You need to over communicate, stay on the same page, like the bottle story Jen told today. It's so easy to build resentment and think that you're always doing more or that you have the short end of the stick. Like it's just so easy to be in a fog.
Yeah. And it's hard, and it's very normal if you're going through rough patches. Just try to put in some work and just take a little bit of even 10 minutes a day to try to actually be with your spouse. It'll make a difference. So,
definitely.
But it does require work. It does require some effort. So I would say in the first few months, it's really, really hard. And these things all sound all great. And I mean, I'll see how it goes with baby number 2.
Yeah.
But like after you get through those first 6 to 8 weeks, maybe then it's a good time to start implementing some things. Like you're not going to be able to do it right away. We get that. It's so freaking hard. So
well, maybe in the future, something we can do is make an episode on how to prepare for a baby, like in a way.
How to prepare your
relationship. Because there are actually things that both of us did, and there's also things that we would do
next time. Or like, we've learned the hard way.
Yeah, for sure. So maybe that's something, if you're interested in that, let us know.
Yeah.
But let's do our little Mom Day mantra.
Yeah.
Jen, I want you to.
Okay.
I want you to.
So today it is prioritize your partner. Keep your relationship the backbone of your family.
So if you're in a committed relationship, you had a baby with this person for a reason, and that relationship was once like the most important thing in your life, and then you have a baby and it gets pushed to the wayside. But in order to model like healthy relationships to your baby and to actually like enjoy family life, you need to make your relationship a priority and keep your relationship literally like the center of your family.
It's so much more fun when you like are both on the same page and you're like doing things as a family and you're like just communicating. It feels good.
I remember
it just for helps.
Sure. I said to Jeff, like, we used to have fun. Like, we used to cook food and it was like so much fun. We used to go grocery shopping and like have a great time. And then we just like nothing was fun anymore. Like everything was a drag, but we're kind of back to things being fun again, which is nice.
It's fun.
Definitely. It is fun. Well, if that's it for today. If you don't follow us on Instagram, come check us out at the Friendly Moms Club. And you can also subscribe to our channel. We'd really love that. And comments and likes and shares. It really helps other people find us. So if you like these videos, please do that.
Yeah. Thanks so much for listening.
Yeah.
See you next week.
Happy Mom Day.
Happy
Bye
Mom
now.
Day.